Good morning. Great for you to join us today. As Finer says, my name is Keith Hurst. I'm a senior examiner with Pearson, and I'm running you through today a session on getting ready to teach International GCSE Commerce. So great for you to join us today. The title, the session is designed for teachers who are new to the qualification to International GCSE Commerce. In a moment, I'm going to run through the agenda, what we'll be covering today. Going to be very practically based in terms of the specification itself. And we're going to look at the assessment model, and we're going to look at actual exam questions. As Finer says, you will receive a recording of this event, so you'll get this to listen and watch back. There are also some materials within it that will hopefully be useful for you in your teaching, in your role. So we're going to run through, in terms of an agenda, we're going to run through how the course is structured. We're going to look at the assessment method, as I say, how to prepare students. We'll have a look at the assessment objectives. We'll do that, and I'm going to point you as well to the support that's available for schools and teachers that are delivering this course. And if you're already a Pearson school, a Pearson centre, you'll know the wealth of support that is available. I'm going to say a little bit more about that and where to go to get some really great materials, actually, and some really great support. So aims and objectives then. This is what we'll be looking at today then. So some of the fundamentals around the qualification. We're going to look at the content. I'm going to show you how the content is structured. I really want you to understand the assessment objectives, and that is a key today for you to understand that. Now, I will repeat this later also, but there is another course that you can book onto. It's a free course, and it's around assessment, and it's around assessment of this particular course. So that will be available later this autumn, actually. We're going to look at actual questions, and we're going to look at student answers. And this session has been designed based on exams taken this summer. So in the summer of 2025, we're going to look at those mark schemes. And one of the things I want you to be certainly comfortable with today is how to use the mark schemes to assess student work. Okay. Pearson is, I know we have some delegates in the room today who are already Pearson schools, who are already use Pearson qualifications, and just a little bit of context really about Pearson itself, the UK's largest awarding organisation, and some of the numbers on there are quite mind-blowing, aren't they, in terms of 10 million exam scripts assessed and examined each year, operating in 70 countries. So a major exam authority, really. And if nothing else, what I want that to do, I myself have worked with Pearson for well over 20 years, over 25 years. And know the sort of the quality that is intrinsic to the organization. I think that the phrase I like to use is that I want you to feel that you're in safe hands. That's the message to take away. So Pearson, we're going to get onto the course. Okay, there is a chat function. We're not going to go through. We're not going to go through this. Um, Mr. Leith.
Morning, Pete.
Good morning, Colin. So I think where I left it was you're in safe hands, really, in terms of a qualification, an awarding organisation. You're in very safe hands, and it's a large supportive organisation. Can I just take a little bit of, and this will be in the chat in terms of, can I just get a sense of, I'm not too worried about number 3 there. Can you just pop into the chat whether you have taught this qualification before, whether you do any other qualifications? Can I just give you a moment to contribute into the chat, please, so we can get a flavour of who's in this session today? I'll give you 1 minute to do that. Okay, thank you, Michelle. Can I also get a flavour of where you are, where you're based now? I mean, I think I've said already, I'm in the UK, a very sunny UK today, in actual fact. Where are you teaching? I know we've got people from far and wide. So, Amina, so we teach 3 subjects in commerce. South Africa, very rainy today. Sorry to hear that, Amina. Singapore, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, there are a lot of resources available on this one. Separate courses, Hafiz, been teaching the course for almost 10 years. April, this is my first year. So do you know what? A good old spread of people in the room. So that's a great thing. So moving on. Can I cover then the specification overview? In terms of the model itself, we're going to have a look. We're going to have a look at this in practice also as well. There are 4 themes within the course. They're on there for theme 1, commercial operations, theme 2, commercial risks, theme 3, finance for commerce, and theme 4, aids for commerce. And the assessment model is that there are 2 examination papers, each identically structured. And again, that should be a real benefit for you. At the heart of the course and the development was consistency. There aren't different ways of being assessed on paper 2 than paper 1. There's a lot of consistency across these 2 papers. Each paper is 90 minutes, 1 hour 30 minutes long. That should say 80 marks, by the way, there. Each paper is marked out of 80. And there are clear mark allocations and topic coverage outline per paper. Each paper is structured in a way that contains multiple choice before building towards extended response questions deliberately. So the paper is ramped in that way. So it builds up progressively to more extended writing questions. The assessment objectives we use are AO1, if you like knowledge, so recalling and selecting knowledge. AO2, applying knowledge and understanding. AO3 is analyze, and AO4 is evaluate. And there's a specific range of assessment objectives in those on each paper. Now, I'll use this word a lot today, and it's in the second bullet point on screen now, and it's this word, consistency. And we're really, really keen that there is a lot of consistency across this qualification. There is a full glossary of command words. I'm going to show you them shortly. These are the command words that will be used. And every exam, every year, will use those same command words: explain, justify, evaluate, and so on. And each year they are assessed in an identical way. So they're assessed in an identical way. And again, I will point this out. That's one of the purposes of today's training. In actual fact, there are quantitative skills that are tested in each lesson, and there are certainly transferable skills that are developed also. Now, all of this is contained on the within the specification. Now, I hope you've had chance, if you're in your first year with this qualification, or whether you're exploring this qualification, the specification is the first port of call where you will use. So that is on the International GCSE Commerce website. That's there. You will have a link for that, and the specification is available there and gives a whole lot more detail about that. And I'm going to start moving in now to some of the content breakdown, actually, in terms of where we're at in terms of what content is covered. Here we have that breakdown, and this is separated into paper 1 and paper 2. And can you see in the right hand column, can you see once again what I mentioned earlier? So each paper, 1 hour 30 minutes. Paper 1 is worth 50% of the qualification. It is marked out of 80. And guess what? Paper 2, identical. 1 hour 30 minutes, 50% of the qualification, marked out of 80. So what content is covered? And again, a lot more detail in the specification on this. Theme 1, commercial operations. So an introduction to what is meant by commerce, buying and selling, commercial enterprises, retail enterprise, e-commerce is a relatively new element of this specification. Before we move into commercial risks, covering insurance, consumer protection legislation, trade, bad debts, and so on. So paper 1. Paper 2 gets into the how are commercial operations facilitated. So we have finance for commerce, financial institutions, sources of finance, methods of payment, commercial calculations, measuring commercial performance, and so on, before we get into aids for commerce, communication, transport, warehousing, promotion, trading documents, types of consumer credit, aids to exports. So it's a snapshot of the content. As I say, lots more information contained within that specification, actually. So what about that assessment then? And again, the intention today is to give you a preview of and a working knowledge of how these papers are assessed. That's the point of this. And if I could show you what I think is a really useful summary. Do you know, and I've spotted another mistake there in terms of at the top of that page. That should say 90 marks, of course. We'll make sure that is changed before this comes out to you. So that is 80 marks. So this is how each paper is structured. So section A is worth 40 marks. Notice that it says there non-contextualized, largely not based on a particular business context. So I'm still in section A. We have multiple choice questions, calculation questions, and then the taxonomy. And what I mean by taxonomy, these are the command words that will be used. These are the command words that will be used in section A. Can you now contrast that with section B? So section B, first box, questions are based now on a commercial context. We start introducing real business context that students must apply their answers to. And then we start getting into multiple choice. Again, the types of questions that will be used. A six mark analyze question and a justify question. And look at section C. So what we have in section C, again, that structure. Now, what I am showing you that for is that is the structure of every paper, every series. So we're into this consistency word again. So there's no different types of questions used. There's no different structure. So your students can be prepared knowing what the exact structure of this paper will be. And as I say, we're going to look at some of those questions and some of that structure now. I've got an opportunity later to for any questions that there might be. But if in the meantime there are any questions, please do shout up. So again, I hope that's another really useful slide. So can I exemplify that a little bit? So section B, what does this contextualized? What does this mean? Well, this is what it means. Here's an example, and this is from this year. So you can see that the section B answered all the questions. And we have this context. Winmark is a supermarket business in Vietnam. Winmark has grown steadily over the last 10 years. It now sells a variety of different products, including its own labeled cheese and cakes, as well as other brands such as Kellogg's, Fairy, and Pepsi. So we've got this context. And very soon in section B, we're going to be answering our questions using that particular context. And we will illustrate this later as well. I'm going to show you some exemplar student responses that use the context well and that some that use it less well. Section C is a different context. So this is a different context that will be used, and this time it's Cadbury, one of the largest manufacturers of chocolate in the world, and this is section C. Look at the top of that. Look at the top of that page, and we have that different context. Now, forgive me. I think you will forgive me. You sound a very forgiving audience, but I've got this word again around consistency, a consistent set of command words. And here is a slide that I think you can actually use in your centres. Your students will, I think, benefit from this taxonomy, this list of command words. These are the question types that will be asked on this paper. So we have a really, really clear taxonomy. It is fixed. It is fixed. So the 1 year there won't be a 4-mark explain question or a 10-mark analyze question or a 5-mark justify question. That won't happen. So you can rest assured and you can plan on your basis for those command words. That's really important. Now, I've already pointed to the specification. Just checking the chat. We've got nothing in the chat at the moment. Okay. Just close that one. Thank you. Okay, so within the specification, you have this really, really great resource. I know some teachers that use this, their students, they give them a copy of this of this resource, and why wouldn't you, I suppose? So Appendix 5 contains a full glossary of the command words, but not only the list of the command words, actually a little descriptor about what is required for each one. So I think that's a really useful resource. That's Appendix 5 within the specification. Um, can I also draw your attention to appendices 6 and 7? Quantitative skills run through the course. So students need to know some formulae. There will be calculate questions on every paper, on every paper. And again, I think this is another great resource for, I think this is another great resource for your students. It's the specification which tells you what calculations students may be required to carry out in an exam paper. And then Appendix 7 contains the actual formula sheet, contains the actual formula sheet. So these are, I know we have some, we can have slightly different versions of formulae. Well, the ones that will be used on this qualification are shown in Appendix 7. And I think a really useful resource. Okay. Okay, so paper structure then. So what are we've sort of talked a little bit about this, as you know, 2 papers, each 90 minutes long, 80 marks, three sections. Both papers with an identical consistent structure. Section A, Section B, Section C. Ramped questions, penultimate bullet point there, very deliberately. So the papers begin with multiple choice, with lower tariff questions to allow students to start getting into the exam I think, to ease them in. And I think we can probably all sympathize with that one, can't we? Increasingly challenge students as they move through the paper. And we have this reduced and carefully defined command word taxonomy. So by taxonomy, this list of command words that will be used. So in a nutshell, that is the qualification. That's what this qualification looks like. Now, I wonder if at this point then there are any questions on any of that. Just checking the chat now. I'll keep the chat open in case any questions. And you know, if anything does crop up, if there's anything, you know, I want this session today. I want you leaving this session today, which will be about 3 hours long, might be just under 3 hours actually. But I want this to be really useful for you. I want you to feel that, look, I now know what that qualification is. And by the time I end today and show you where the resource materials are, where the support materials are, and I will give you Colin Leith's details, I hope if nothing else, you feel that you can go into this qualification having all of that key information. That's really important to us, actually. Okay, I'm going to go and start looking at different question types. We're going to start looking at that now. Now, can I say that we will, I've got a built in a short comfort break. I'm trying to spot where that, we've got a short comfort break coming up. So I know this is a 3-hour session, but I have built in a short break to allow us to just step away from our computer and perhaps get a cup of tea or whatever we want to do there. So I'm going to come on to, we're going to look at two different, the mark scheme has 2 different types of questions. Some are points based and some are levels based. And I'm going to start off by talking about points-based marking and what that actually involves. And I'm going to do it, first of all, by looking at a calculate question. So on screen in front of you, the left-hand side, calculate questions. So again, consistency, always worth 2 marks. I've shown you the formula that will be used, the calculations that will be required. It tests AO2. Um, it's a points-based mark scheme. We're going to have a look at the mark scheme. We're going to have a look at what that points-based scheme looks like. Calculate questions can appear in sections A, B, and C. Importantly, there are no marks awarded for simply stating a formula. So if a student knows what a formula is, there is no mark for the knowing that formula. Now, the reason for that is, look at the second bullet point. This is testing not recall, not knowledge. It's testing application. It's the ability to use a formula to work out an answer. All calculate questions have an answer template similar to the following slide. I'm gonna pop that on the screen in a moment. We've provided a line where the answer needs to be, and where applicable, answers should only be given to two decimal places. So can I show you what this looks like? What's this sort of, what does this question look like? Well, when I say a standard template, there it is in front of you. So in the box, there's the answer line. Students don't need to worry about putting the unit of currency or the percentage sign. That will be provided, but the student answer needs to be on that line. So this is a question about Candy Wonderland, a sweet shop in Vietnam that sells handmade sweets. Let's look at the question. We've got the exchange rate there. Question 1, calculate. Here's the command word. Calculate the price of these sweets in British pounds. You're advised to show your working. And look at that right-hand side. It's worth 2 marks. Always. Consistent, always. There's the box for the student to show their working. Now, can I say this? If a student does no working and just puts the right answer on that line, 2 marks. We're not looking for the working to get the 2 marks. If the right answer is on there, 2 marks. The only reason we will ever award 1 mark is if the answer is incorrect, but some element of the working is itself correct. So, can I show you this then in terms of, here is the mark scheme. So this is how the mark schemes are laid out. Again, consistently, all the time. Calculate the price of these sweets in Great British pounds. You're advised to show your working. Can you see that? At the top, there's the question repeated. In the box in the second column, can you see where it says AO2, 2 marks? And here's the instruction to examiners. Award 1 mark for calculation and 1 mark for answer. Okay, so if the student ignore the right answer to £2.50, if the candidate had only written that formula there, the working there, they would have been awarded 1 mark. And look at the bottom of that. NB, no, well, a candidate who responds with £2.50 and no calculations is awarded both marks. So that's how the mark scheme works. And I think what you're taking away, what I want you to be taking away here is, in preparing your students for these questions, that line is the key. That's where the correct answer must be. Don't get me wrong. If the candidate hasn't written the right answer on that line and the box is full of workings out, the examiner will look to see if they can find the right answer. But in terms of preparing your students, that's the key thing. Okay. think I've got an example for you from a previous. In fact, I think this is from the sample assessment materials. So here was an example. Calculate the balance of trade for Singapore. You're advised to show your workings again. It's that word again. Calculate. How many marks is this worth? Oh, it's 2. There it is. This student has done their workings and they've got the correct answer on that dotted line. So calculate questions. I don't want to label this. I think that should be relatively straightforward. I think that should be something you can readily practice. Of course, what you have by way of support are lots of past papers and sample materials. So you've got lots of that really to support you. Can I just have a moment on oops, excuse me. Can I just have a moment on, there are some, I'm going to show you one of these as well. A type of calculation question is a complete the table question, which works out the values missing from the presented documents. Worth 1 or 2 marks, depending on how many blanks there are. Again, testing application AO2, and once again, a points-based mark scheme. So you'll see this type of question. And here it is. That's the question. Complete the statement of account in figure 3 to show the missing amounts. And you can see in the table, you can see the dotty I and the dotty 2. That's where the student will actually put their answer. And here's the mark scheme. Here's how this thing works. And that's what we're looking for. So it's a variant, if you like. It is a variant of the calculate question. The calculate question. Okay. Can I come on to explain questions? Now, I'm going to take you through this. The reason I want to be really clear with this is the structure of linked development points is what's going to be, it's going to apply in other question types as well. So I want to be really clear about this. I'm just making sure we, in terms of questions. Thank you, Farmida. So Colin has picked up the thank you, Colin, for that. Thank you. There's a question that comes on the chat. Okay, so explain question. So really important, because what I'm going to describe here, this same principle will be used when we're looking at analyze questions, justify questions, at evaluate questions, this same principle. So what's an explain question? Identify a factor with 2 expansion points. These may expand on each other or both from the same fact. There is no context in these questions. They're worth 3 marks. Because there's no context, they appear in section A, consistency again. So designed to test knowledge and understanding, AO1, AOB. It's a points-based mark scheme. I'm going to show you that really clearly in a moment. Only appear in section A. We'll always explain one. There's only a need to explain one thing. Now, what about that bullet point, the penultimate bullet point there? There are 4 explain questions in each paper. So there are 12 marks in each paper out of 80 on explain questions. Now, I think it's really, really important that your students understand the method to answer these questions. If they know that method, then there are 4 questions here. There are 12 marks that should be readily accessible. So candidates need to identify 1, impact, method, advantage, disadvantage, and then offer two linked strands of development. Okay, I'm going to show you an example of that now on with the mark scheme. So again, this is a mark scheme from this year. Explain why clauses are included in most insurance policies. So we're thinking about risk, aren't we? And risk from commercial activity and where insurance fits into that. Okay, now can I go through this mark scheme with you quite closely? So there's the question. And remember, this is the mark scheme that examiners are being told to use. This is what your examiner will use in answering your questions, your students' questions. So award 1 mark for the identification why clauses are included in most insurance policies, plus 2 further marks for explaining the reason, for a maximum of 3 marks. Now, what the mark schemes contain are 2 exemplar responses. Now, can I be clear here? These are not the only correct answers for this question. What the mark scheme will include are 2 examples of indicative content. So you might be thinking of different answers now for that question. Fine. These are 2 examples to illustrate. Now, can I talk you through these 2 responses and you can see where the marks are awarded. So the question again, explain why clauses are included in most insurance policies. Right, let's look at this first response. Clauses make it clear to the insured. So look at the 1 mark after that. 1 mark for saying that clauses make things clear. What will it make things clear? It will make things clear what is not covered by the policy. Another 1 mark, there's +1, meaning time will not be wasted in incorrect claims. That is why clauses are included, because they provide clarity and businesses are not claiming for what is not covered. Let's have a look at this second example. A clause relating to the property, 1 mark, identifying that clauses can apply to different aspects of commercial activity, may state that it cannot be rented out, here's an example, without the consent of the insurance company. So 2 linked strands here. Note, please, no marks for a definition. No marks for a definition. Answers that list 3 clauses with no explanation will get 1 mark only. What we are after in these explained questions, and by the way, in other types of questions, are those linked strands of development. Can I show you a student response from this year? From this year. So same question, same question. Now, can I let you have a read of that? Okay, so I think we'll agree the students had a pretty good go at this, haven't they? They've sort of what you might have spotted. I mean, I hope what you've spotted. What do clauses do? They inform the insured about what will be covered by the insurance cover. There is why they're included. This informs the customer and ensures that there are no misunderstandings. Good. There's a second point. The third point, leading to high customer satisfaction. Now, that wasn't accepted. That looks like it's a second linked strand, doesn't it? But in actual fact, that's not really answering the question. That's some separate point. So here's a comment from the examining team. Some of the response includes information about what will not become worthy of a mark, and this is then developed to ensure there are no misunderstandings. But that last point was not a development point. What about this? What about this question? You see, it's on the same theme, can't you? June 2025, paper one, once again. Explain one reason why an insurance company would require a completed claim form from an insured customer making a claim for theft. So, what have we got here? Once again, oops, apologies. It's an explain question. It is worth 3 marks. You are explaining. Your students are explaining one reason why an insurance company would require a completed claim form. Can I show you the mark scheme? Can I show you the mark scheme for that particular question? And again, can I draw your attention to the This looks like the previous explain. Yes, it does. It's very deliberately structured the same way. I think it's a great thing, by the way, that your students are able to use these mark schemes. AO1, 3 marks. Award 1 mark for identification of a reason why an insurance company would want a completed claim form from an insured customer who's making a claim for theft, plus 2 further marks for explaining the way. And then once again, we have 2 suggested responses. Could there be other correct answers? Yes, there could. Are these the 2 only answers? No, they're not. But I like the idea of these answers being available. You could use these answers with your students. Take the numbers out and let your students say, right, how many marks is this worth? So let's have a look at that first one. If an expensive item was stolen, the insurance company would want to have full detail of the item before they would consider the claim. So there are 2 linked strands there from the point. What about this second one? It's possibly a better response. That the insurance company would check all the details of the claim are correct. That's why they need a form. All the details are correct, they would pay out the claim. And once again, no marks for a definition. Can I show you another student response this time to that question? Can I ask you to have a read of that? I don't know if you're watching this session alone or whether there's anyone, other members of the department with you, but can I just ask you to have a read of that one and have a think about how many marks you would award that one? Okay, how did you do with that one? I hope we agree that this student has had a really good go at this question in terms of they seem to understand the purpose of insurance and why um, claim forms are certainly important. This was awarded 3 marks. So the response gives a reason for completing the form and then offers points of development. The reason provided is to allow the insurance company to calculate the value of the claim. The insurance company can then work out the value of the loss to give the compensation. So hopefully that's useful. And you can see where from that point there are those linked strands of development. Can I also point out when you get these slides, I think you already have these slides actually. Some of these responses in here you might want to use with your classes. That's that. I'm a teacher myself. I love the idea of that when we're doing insurance. That response there could easily be on screen, couldn't it? Could be a starter activity with students charged to, right, read that. How many marks? How many marks is that one worth? So explain questions. These linked strands of development are very, very important. Really, really important for us. Okay. Can I come on to a different question type? We're going to look at outline questions, which are actually only worth they're only worth 2 marks. So you might think, well, that's less difficult than um, an explain question. However, there's something different about outline questions that I want to highlight to you. So 2 link points about a business concept in context. So there's a point plus 1 development mark. So designed to test application. Now this is different to an explain question. These will be in context. A point-based mark scheme is used, can only appear in sections B and C, the contextualized sections of the exam paper. 1 to 2 outline questions in each paper. And again, what I want you to be clear of is the structure that is used here. And I want you to be comfortable with that structure so that your students can be comfortable with that structure. That's what this is all about. So students need to state 1 benefit, drawback, impact to provide 1 strand of development. Within the answer, there must be evidence of context to score 2 marks. So can I show you an example of a question? Again, from this year. 1 reason why outline 1 reason why customers use their Winmart loyalty cards. So what do we have here? The command word, outline. It is worth 2 marks. Consistency, always. But the difference this time is that student responses must be in that business context. Now, this might seem a simple question, but statistically, once we start introducing context into question types, students perform less well. So this is something to really drill your students with. The need to and the ability to use context is really, really key. Let's have a look at the mark scheme for that one. So here it is, 1 reason why customers use their Winmart loyalty cards. And again, doesn't this mark scheme look familiar? Isn't this style very, very consistent and very clear? So it's assessing AO2. Award 1 mark for identifying 1 reason why the customers use their Winmart loyalty cards, and 1 mark for further development. And we've got an exemplar response here. Does it mean it's the only response that's correct and acceptable? No. Might there be other possible correct answers? Indeed there are. But again, you've got a nice little example of a response that you could share with students. Customers use their loyalty cards to gain points they can use to pay for food shopping. Straight away, I've got some context here. This is talking about Winmart food shopping, which encourages them to keep returning to Winmart to gain more points. So the question is, why do customers use their Winmart loyalty card? Yeah, it's to pay for their shopping and it encourages them to go back more. Look underneath. Do not accept a reason that is not in the context of Winmart. This is really, really important. Shall we have a look at a student response again from this summer? So this training reflects this summer's exam papers. Can I be quiet for a moment and let you have a read of that one and have a think about how many marks you would award? Okay, so I hope that we can see that this was worth 2 marks. Customers get to save time. Where is the context coming from in this one? Well, it's talking about a wide range of products. Maybe that's context, maybe that's not. But look later on, for example, buying their labeled cheese. This is really in the context of a supermarket. Okay, shall we get a bit of audience participation going here? I wonder if we should. There's another response. Can I ask that we just pop a number in the chat? Can you have a go at um, so in the chat, please, can you put 0, 1, or 2? See how you do based on what we said. So there's an actual student response. Now, what I could have done there, what I perhaps should have done was said, if you send it just to myself as host, but some of you have gone in there, okay. Yeah, thank you. I mean, the answers that are coming through typically there are 1, and that's correct, because what this doesn't have is specific context. Remember that previous one? Remember the previous one where right at the end it's talking about supermarkets buying their labeled cheese. This one doesn't have that context. To receive discounts or offers that loyal members are receiving, is that correct? Yes, that's one reason why customers use Winmart loyalty cards, so that they could spend less money, increasing customer saving. That could apply to any business. That could apply to any business. That's not specific to Winmart. Look at this one. This is talking about supermarkets and cheese. This one is too generic. As a result, this one receives 1 mark. This receives 1 mark. Okay. Questions? Anything from anyone? Let me have a look at the chat, because I'm going to come on to levels-based marking now. What I will say is the principles around those linked strands of development. I'm happy to go through those with you again, but they apply in those explain questions, those outline questions. You're going to see them also when we come on to analyze questions and justify in a moment. Are there any questions at all? Oh, someone was typing. Great. Thank you. Well, that comes on to, we're going to move into leveled mark scheme. We're not having another break today. So can I suggest a short break now? It is 10 o'clock. So to recharge, stretch your legs, recharge your cups. Can we come back here at 10 past 10, please? And then we're going to pick up with leveled mark schemes and leveled. It's a little bit more complex, a little bit more technical. So I'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Okay, bye-bye. We've had a chance for a little break there, and we'll move straight on. I hope you can hear me okay, and I hope the presentation is presenting as it should be, as it was in the last part of the session. If you could message to say if it's not, I think it should be. Okay, we're having gone through then the points-based mark schemes, which hopefully make sense and hopefully are clear and straightforward for yourselves as teachers and your students to follow. We're going to come on to levels-based mark scheme, which apply to the questions which are typically worth more. So they're not marked through points for a correct answer or points for a linked strand. They're based on levels. And I want to spend some time talking you through how these levels actually work. The first one we're going to look at is an analyze question. And I'm going to show you the mark scheme with the levels descriptors. The point I want to make is that these levels are the same in different questions also, but more of that later. So, analyze questions. They're worth 6 marks. There's 3 of them on each paper, so there's 18 marks available from analyze questions. And what does an analyze question require? It requires an extended answer, requiring expansion and exploration of a commercial concept or issue. The answer will be placed in context by the question, and it's worth 6 marks. So it's designed to test application and analysis. So we want these chains of reasoning once again. A levels-based scheme is used. That's what I want to take you through today in a moment. Can appear in sections A, B, and C. Will always be of the nature analyze an or analyze the impact of or the advantage of. There are 3 per paper. Now, can I really draw your attention to these 2 final bullet points? When we look at the mark scheme in a moment, you'll notice that it will be saying linked strands of development, and it will use these 2 phrases, interconnected points and detailed interconnected points. So I'm looking at the last 2 bullet points here. And we have tried to make this really clear for examiners and for teachers and for students, so that interconnected points means at least 2 linked strands. Detailed interconnected points, the last bullet point, actually means 5 linked strands of development. And I want to exemplify those today. So when we look at those descriptors, when we look at those level mark schemes, that's what they mean. So can I move on? Can I give us an example of that? So here is a typical analyze question. It's about Virgin Atlantic Australia has membership packages to suit the needs of different customers. The monthly charge for VAA customers can differ from one month to another. This will depend on the membership package they choose. Customers can upgrade their package at any time. VAA encourages its customers to set up direct debits. And the question, here's our command word, analyze, analyze why direct debits may be a good method of payment for VAA. And guess what? It is worth 6 marks. Always analyze question, 6 marks. Why are direct debits a good method of payment? Now, can I show you the mark scheme on this then? So here is a typical, it's a bit small, I hope you can see this okay. Here's a levels mark scheme. That are split into 2. These are just on one page. I've split them to fit them onto one screen for this training session. So there's the question. We know that there's AO2 3 marks, AO3 3 marks. I'm looking at the left hand box now, and then here is some indicative content once again. So for AO2, the candidate has written, the monthly charge for customers of VAA services can vary on a regular basis. Customers may pay direct debit for their membership package. And then AO3 as other strands of development. Now, for the first bullet point under AO2 goes with the first bullet point of AO3. So VAA can alter the amount to be paid on the direct debit depending on the usage, the upgrade, or the development point of the second bullet point in AO2 is, this means VAA will know how much money they will receive and when for each customer. So it's referencing membership packages. Now, here are the level descriptors. These are fixed. These will be there all of the time. So I'm looking at the right-hand box now, and I'm looking at the right-hand column. And when it says level 1, see if I can use this. Just bear with me. Uh, just bear with me, guys. I'm just... Okay. Can I point out that in these level, and forgive me if you understand this and you've been with Pearson some time and you know this, I get that. So in these level descriptors, I know that some members of the meeting haven't been, and that's why I'm just going to explain this a little bit more carefully. In the levels descriptor, so where it says level 1, the first bullet point relates to AO2. So AO2 at level 1 is limited application of knowledge and understanding of commercial concepts, issues to the commercial context. Whereas by the time we get to level 3, detailed application, understanding of commercial concepts and issues. So the first bullet point in each box is AO2. The next bullet point down is AO3. So in the first box, level 1, attempts to deconstruct commercial information. Can I show you level 2? Look at the second bullet point in level 2. This is where it's talking about deconstructs commercial information and issues, finding interconnected points with chains of reasoning. And if you look at the box under level 3, deconstructs commercial information on issues, finding detailed interconnected points. That's where it needs 5 linked strands of development. So first bullet point relates to AO2. Second bullet point relates to AO3. And that's how those levels mark schemes work. Does anyone have any questions on that? Let me just check if there are any questions. Question from Famida. Thank you, Famida. Yes, so to score full marks in an analyze question, students need to demonstrate the skills of application. The answer has to be in the context of the particular business. So this particular business was Virgin Atlantic Australia. It's got a Virgin Active Australia. It has to be in the context of an airline and of this particular airline. And they have to show, to get to level 3, there has to be 5 linked strands of development. So we're going to have a look at a student response. Do come back to me, Famida, if that's not clear, if you want that explaining again, whilst I endeavour to get rid of that annotation on screen. Ah, okay, I think I'm there with that now. So shall we have a look at a student response? Okay, this is that same question. This is that same question. Analyze why direct debits may be a good method of payment for VAA. Can I ask you to have a read? This is longer, isn't it? It's a 6-mark question. Let's have a read what this student has put, and then we'll try and unpick this. What is going on? Okay, a couple of minutes to read that, then I'll take you through that. Okay. Well, what I hope is that we see that this student has had made a good attempt at this one actually, in terms of why a direct debit's a good method of payment. In terms of they've 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 offered two reasons. Um, because payment method can differ, the direct debit. They've got some context in there by saying VAA's monthly charge differs. It differs from month to month. They can change their membership package at any time. And what the examiner said here was this was a level 3 response, chains of reasoning, at least 5 chains of reason. So if we have a look at the second paragraph here then. So can I talk you through this in terms of identify these chains of reason? Another reason why direct debit is a good method of payment is because the charge is incurred automatically each month. There's the point. This removes the hassle of having to manually review. That's a development point to customer VA membership, making it more convenient for customers. That's another development point, whilst also saving time. Debatable about whether that's a third development point, but in the entire answer, you're looking for 5 linked strands of development to get to level 3 for analysis. So shall I do that again in terms of, so I'm just annotating on here, you have to 5 linked strands of development for, and it all has to be in the context of this business. So imagine the student response. Imagine the student response that does this, that I've put there. It is, there's 5, at least 5 linked strands of development. And in that way, it's really good. But in terms of application, it is not in the context of the business at all. What mark do you think that response would get? So for AO2, it's effectively got 0, but for AO3 analysis, it's got level 3. Now, the point about these level mark schemes is that they are best fit. So examiners will look at, they will see that, right, this student is here for analysis, but here for application. I hope you're agreeing with me that examiners would be looking that a best fit for this response is actually in level 2, and it would be awarded probably 3 marks. That's how the best fit that's how the best fit model of using these level mark schemes actually works. Now, if I can get this to work again. Oh, and I need to clear my annotations, of course. Okay, you've been very patient. Thank you. So can I show you, can we have a look at another student response? Same question. How many marks do you think this one received? Okay, now this is what the examiner, the principal examiner felt about this response. Obviously, it looks very different. It doesn't look as detailed. But what have we got here? let me go through this student response. Because debits, and they mean direct debits, and we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt there. We're not here to be penalising students. Because direct debits mean that the money is guaranteed because it is not a credit, the customer's money is there. So this will mean that Virgin Active Australia will be able to make profit almost immediately. They're getting the money. The transaction is completed. Especially with the fluctuating prices each month, they are likely to make more profit in some months. So whilst that might not seem a very strong response, what in fact we do have is, does it have limited application? Okay, so let's just do this. Does it have limited application? It certainly does. Does it have interconnected, but does it have two linked strands of debate? Yes, it does. So for AO3, it is in the level 2 band. It's probably just a little bit better than limited application. It might not be quite sound application, but it's probably better than that. And the examiners felt it was level 2 for an application as well. And that's why on the best fit model, now we will probably all agree that that won't be, it's not, in some ways, it's not the strongest response. Let's just get that back on again. But it meets all the level 1 criteria. Talks about fluctuating prices every month, so make more profit. And the comment was, it is better than basic. So hopefully that is giving you a real insight into the levels mark scheme and how they actually operate. And we're going to use those again with the next question type, which is justify. And this is a different style of question. And again, I think your students need to be prepped and readied for this type of question. So can I go through what this question involved? I mean, first of all, it's worth 9 marks using information provided in order to recommend one of 2 options. So students are going to be presented with 2 options in this type of question. There are 2 of these questions on each paper. So it's designed to test application, analysis, and evaluation. So AO2, AO3, and AO4. Levels-based mark scheme is used. The principles we've just been through with that analyze question, we're going to use a very similar structure now with this question. Will only appear in sections A and B, 1 in each section. Will always involve a choice between 2 options. And once again, look at those 2 development points there for AO3A, interconnected points and detailed interconnected points. So what does this question look like then, where students have to recommend 1 out of 2 options? Well, here's what the question looks like. And again, they will always look like this on the paper. So Igara Growers Tea Factory Limited, IGTF, is a large Ugandan tea growing business that provides a range of teas. It trades internationally, but is now considering opening new trading arrangements with some European businesses. It is considering 2 trading options. Here are the 2 options. Option 1, supply directly to European retailers, or option 2, supply through European wholesalers. And the question, justify which one of these 2 options Igara Growers Tea Factory Limited should choose. Same structure every time, 9 marks. And there is a really clear approach to these questions. And the mark schemes, once again, I hope will be really helpful. So can I show you the mark scheme for this particular question? Now, can I do that again? Can I so a reminder of the question. It's considering two options: supply directly or use European wholesalers. Now, the mark scheme looks complicated, looks convoluted. It's not intended to be. Oops. Now, I seem to have frozen. Okay, just bear with me, please. I just seem to be frozen at the minute. Can I ask that you read through that mark scheme? And can I just draw your attention to, for each of the two options, option one, directly to European retailers, or option two, look at the mark scheme. So the first bullet point under AO2 is an argument in favor of option one, and so on. And that's how they're working then. Argument a little bit lower down, arguments for option two. Okay, I think. Okay, can I just go through that? We're now working again. The technical glitch. So can I just talk to, again, you've got these slides, you've got these papers. Can I just talk you through, with apologies for those of you that are comfortable with this? I just want to spend a little bit of time explaining this mark scheme, because there's going to be something very particular about which option students should choose. Loud and clear, I want you to be aware that there is no right or wrong answer here. There is no right or wrong answer. Students can choose any option that they want, and that can be a correct answer. So there isn't, of option one and option two, there isn't a better one that we as an exam board are thinking about. There is a choice for students to use. Yeah, I'm still having this. This is still quite glitchy. So where I've highlighted arguments for option one, underneath there, they are two arguments for option one. If IGTF sells directly to retailers, it can provide them with a full range of differing tasting teas. By IGTF selling direct to retailers, they know that these tea flavors are freshly packed and delivered. Okay, underneath that then, AO3 is the development point, is the analysis of those 2 points. And then have a look at what's going on underneath AO4. That's where the student or the response could be balanced. However, there is no guarantee that the retailers have customers who are willing to buy a variety of teas. However, there could be a delay in delivering the goods from IGTF to the retailer because of the different means transport would be required. I'm going to clear that annotation and move on. Does anyone have any questions? With apologies for the glitchiness there. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Colin, and thank you, Michelle, thank you for your questions there. So this is how the mark scheme works. Here are the levels. So now this should be quite familiar to us because hello, we've seen this before. The first bullet point, limited application or sound application or we looked at those before. Look at the second bullet point in each box. Attempts to deconstruct commercial information, find issues, limited connections. Yes, that's AO3. We're aware of that. But what we've introduced now, because justify questions are worth 9 marks and require balance, we now have a third bullet point. And the third bullet point, of course, is evaluation. And this is where students are required to offer some sort of balance to their response. They haven't had to do this before. A clear justification, a thorough evaluation of and that's why the mark scheme is so useful in terms of look at AO4, that's the balancing points for option 1, and then on the right hand side of your screen, AO4, they're the balancing points for option 2. So I'm going to repeat once again, there is no right or wrong answer. So you might want to help your students by saying, look, you can just choose one of those. It doesn't matter which one, actually. And we're going to have a look at a response now. So this is the same question. This is the same question. I know it might be a little small on screen. Apologies. Hopefully you can read that okay. I think the students' writing helps us out a little bit here, doesn't it? So can I give you a few minutes to have a read of, so the bottom line with this, which is the best option that IGTF should use? You know and I know, and hopefully students know, there's no right or wrong answer. It's whichever one they can best construct. They don't need to talk about both. Can I give you a couple of minutes to read that one? And then we will have a look at how many marks it was awarded. If in the meantime you have any questions, do pop them into the chat. And let us see how we get on with this one. Thank you. Okay, how did we do with this one then? So clearly the student kicks off by making an option, don't they? Making a decision. We'll consider choose option 2, supply through European wholesalers. And they develop that quite well, don't they? So which wholesalers will buy them in bulk, they will distribute them to retailers in small quantities. So it provides a range of teas. If they want to sell in Europe, they can supply. It's more beneficial to them. And they're making that point about, wholesalers will buy in bigger proportions. It's going to be more straightforward. Uh, Also, when IGTF sells to European wholesalers, they will most likely store them for tea, not only for the ones in large quantities. Also, when you supply to European wholesalers, they will make repeat purchases because IGTF may give some discount so that they can. So this is good. There are linked strands of development. And if we're thinking about, so the question we're asking ourselves now is this. Okay, let me take you back here. So let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at even what we've read there. Your examiner will be using this level descriptor. Is this response in the context of IGTF? I think it is. It's talking about T's. It's talking about a range of T's. It clearly seems to be in the context of this business. What about the second bullet point? What about the linked strands of development? What's going on there? Do you think that this candidate is building an argument, constructing an argument? Do you know what? They certainly are. And if I look right at the bottom, detailed there's at least 5 strands of development. So what we now want to know is, okay, do they offer any balance? I'm reading here and I'm seeing lots of arguments in favor of why this might be, why selling through European wholesalers might be the best way. And do you know what? In terms of AO2 and AO3, I think I'm into level 3. Great. Have I got any balance? Well, let us have a look. Well, there seems to be something here. There seems to be something. Show you here. Let's see what we think to this. However, transporting all these T's will be a challenge because so much documentation will be needed. True. Oh, so they might need to sell as fast as possible so they don't get into so they don't go bad. Okay. What I'm thinking here is that yes, there is some attempt at balance. It would have been nice, by the way, if the candidate had started that, however, on a different line to show a demarcation of paragraphs. That might have been helpful. I don't think this is the strongest balance in the world. Also, they need to sell fast so they don't go bad. Feels a little bit weird, not as strong as what has gone before. But hello, we have got a conclusion though. In conclusion, well, because it's supply European wholesalers because they buy in bulk, it's easy to supply them, and also cheaper rather than supplying to European retailers where they buy in small quantities. Okay. Yeah, this is the benefit of wholesalers. It's the selling in bulk rather than. So this is quite a nice point. This is quite a nice point. This doesn't feel, however, like full marks. Let me just take us back. Forgive the annotation on there. So look at the last bullet point in each box, please. So the level 1 descriptor, for value makes a judgment providing simple justification based on limited evaluation, possibly. Look at the level 3 descriptor for evaluation, makes a judgment, clear justification based on a thorough evaluation. It doesn't feel like it's level 3, does it? And in actual fact, the examiners gave that 8 marks. It's level 3. A very detailed response showing application, understanding of at least 5 interconnected points, chains of reasoning. So I hope what you can see there is what we have. we're using this level descriptor. We're using this level descriptor in a best fit way. That's really, really important to sort of grasp. So if I were to take us through, that once again, oops, I can see that for AO2, we've got level 3. For AO3, we have AO3. For AO4, we have probably just into level 2. And that's where the marks overall came from. So that response got 8 marks. Oops, and I now need to move on. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that's justify questions? Do pop it in the chat for any questions about that. I think it's formula. Importantly on justify questions, and I think I've said this already, but I do want to really reiterate, candidates do not have to comment on both options. If you want to simplify things for your candidates, for your students, you can get them to focus just on one, a little bit like what that response itself did, focused on wholesalers. But it must be contextualized, and we could see there was some context there. They were talking about tea. They were talking about the need. If you're selling in large amounts, then it could go bad. And I think we know what they mean. We know that tea is perishable. It won't last. It won't last forever. It's not like buying products like clothing that doesn't have a shelf life in that same way. Okay, so that's justify questions. Right. The final question type I want us to go through today is evaluate. So we're going to look at evaluate questions now. So this is the final question type, and it's the one that's worth 12 marks at the end of a paper. And it brings all the skills together, actually. So write an extended answer using knowledge of the specification content to reach a supported conclusion about a commercial situation. It's worth 12 marks. So it's extended writing. It's designed to test knowledge of AO1, AO2, AO3, and AO4. A levels-based mark scheme is used once again, and hopefully we're getting familiar with those levels-based mark schemes. The same principles that we've talked about already will apply. So that again, it's not some completely new way of working that we've got to get used to for this question. A lot of those same principles will apply. And once again, we've got those. So this question will only appear in section C. So it's the last question of the paper. And once again, we've got our interconnected points and detailed interconnected points. So this final question then. Excuse me. So we're provided with a context. Really, really important that your students read this very carefully. There will be some useful context in here. The vegan beauty industry is expecting worldwide growth from $17.39 billion in 22 to 24 billion in 28. Many customers only want to use vegan skincare. This trend is rising fastest in 30 to 45-year-old women in America, Europe, Britain, and Australia. So Beekman 1802 developed a vegan skincare range. It invited 2,030 to 45-year-old women to be the faces of the new launch. Beekman 1802 partnered with celebrities on TikTok, social media site popular with 30 to 45-year-old women. It sold out of most of the new products and had its highest 1 week sales ever. So Make sure, please, that your students read these responses very carefully. Read these context very carefully and don't just jump to the question straight away. We've got an awful lot of information in there about the trend of this industry, the age profile of customers. We're talking about TikTok and social media. There is a lot going on in that context, and students should annotate it, should make sure they understand that. The question itself, then, here's our command word: evaluate the impact of changing consumer preferences on the way Beekman 1802 advertised its vegan skincare range. You should use the information provided and your own knowledge of always worded in the same way. So, what is the answer here? Evaluate the impact of changing consumer preferences on the way Beekman 1802 advertised its vegan skincare range. Okay, clearly students are going to need to offer some balance here. On the one hand, yes, changing consumer preferences were really important. However, maybe not. Now, I'm going to attempt to annotate this once more, so just bear with me. So, let's go with a different color this time. So this is how these mark schemes work. So for AO1, for knowledge and understanding, the first bullet point relates to the third bullet point. So businesses must be aware and respond to changes in consumer preferences to remain competitive. Okay, that then links to this bullet point. So if you were to extract these sentences, this would become our response. So following on from that, the market for vegan beauty products is expected to grow to $24 billion by 2028. That then links to this bullet point. Beekman has chosen to promote its vegan skincare range using the global reach in TikTok, as it is a popular social media for 30 to 45-year-old women. However, dissatisfied customers can also use TikTok to inform all viewers of their complaints. So do you see what's happening there? This is the balance provided for the argument that's been made in the previous bullet points. And what happens in the subsequent ones? So this bullet point here relates to this bullet point. So consumer preferences in the beauty market are changing. There is a trend in 30 to 45-year-old women of Europe and America to use vegan skincare products. Beekman has targeted this age group that is changing its demands towards it by involving them and relative celebrities in its promotion. However, some customers may not admire some of the chosen celebrities and may not wish to buy the products associated with them. So that is how these mark schemes work. That's how they are constructed, and hopefully they are useful for you and they're useful for your students. So can we have a look at the level descriptor now then? And again, this should by now be looking very familiar. What we have in these 4 bullet points are all of the assessment objectives. So if I look at level 1, here we have AO1, AO2, AO3, and AO4. Now, once again, that same best fit applies. So level 3 are the highest. the highest level in all of those 4 assessment objectives. Just bear with me. Lost it again momentarily. But once again, we have this best fit approach, and I'm just going to illustrate it this way. If a student shows high levels of knowledge, so let me go high levels of knowledge, but very little AO2. Okay, so it's not contextualized to this business. AO3 is pretty good. There aren't quite 5 strands of development, but there are certainly 4. And evaluation, there is a conclusion, but it's a little bit limited. And it's deemed to be, draws a conclusion supported by generic assertions. So in green, what do we have here? We have 2 of our assessment objectives are in level 1. 1 of our assessment objectives is in level 2, and 1 is in level 3. Where on earth does an examiner place that particular response? And again, using the best fit model, it will be placed somewhere in level 2. That's where the examiner would probably place this response based on that best fit approach. Okay, we've got a student example to look at actually. So, can I? Again, it's getting a little bit smaller still, isn't it? But can I give you 3 minutes to have a read of that? This is an actual student response from this. So, to what extent evaluate the impact of changing consumer preferences on the way it advertises its product? Can you have a look if you can identify linked strands? Is there any knowledge in here? Is it in the context of this skincare product and business and industry? And is there any balance? So can I leave you with those questions for 3 minutes, and then we'll come back together and have a look at the response. Okay, how did we get on here? I wonder. Um, just checking the chat in terms of anything has come through. Has come through there. Okay, I'm wondering what you felt about this one actually, in terms of the students certainly um, had a good go at this one, haven't they? In terms of is it linked into the beauty industry, the skincare industry? It certainly is, isn't it? And there are certainly um, good link strands of development in actual fact. So what they're saying, beauty industry such as Beekman HO2, beauty industry developing a range of vegan skincare, they will be able to increase their customer base as they have changed the customer preference because customers only want to use a vegan skincare. This will allow them to increase sales of their vegan products. Furthermore, furthermore, by Beekman 1802 partnering with TikTok celebrities, they will increase their brand name. This will allow people to. So this is certainly well contextualized. This is, and hopefully you picked up on that, and hopefully you picked up on some good link strands of development also. Where it was less strong, perhaps. Now, do notice that the candidate does, and I'll highlight this, they do provide a conclusion. Well, they do get onto offering some balance, and here's a good way of showing balance. However, a change in consumer preference may lead to Beekman to have a high demand for vegan products that they are not able to provide. This is less strong. The candidate is providing some balance here, but this is certainly less strong than what we've had before. Could lead to customer dissatisfaction, we're told. Just put that on. Customer dissatisfaction. So what did we have here? We had a frozen again. We've got a detailed response. The examiners, so this summer, this was awarded 9 marks. Did you agree with that? Is that about where you would have placed this response? Students had a good go, haven't they? They've applied their knowledge. They show some understanding of what is happening around changing consumer preferences. And it's a detailed response. 9 marks overall. I wonder if that is where you place this response. Right. First of all, so in terms of whether there are any questions, I'm going to spend a little bit of time now going through support and where you might get further resources and further information. If there are any questions in the meantime, do pop them into the chat. I'm going to say also that again there is a training session coming up. I think there might be two of them, in actual fact, that are on understanding assessment on this course. They're free courses, they're online ones like this, but they are based solely around, and in those courses, it's more practically based. So you'll actually be doing some marking of some student responses. The purpose of today was to give you an insight into the qualification in the round, how it is structured, and how assessment works in that way. And that's what introducing you to those types of questions, the points based, the levels based, how the level descriptors work, and exemplifying that through student responses is what the intention has been today. And hopefully that's provided some useful information. Okay, nothing else in the chat at the moment, but if there's anything that you want, do pop it in there. Um, okay, support at every stage. If you haven't already done so, the subject page on the Pearson website, really detailed, really clear to follow. So let's just have a look at what we have on screen there. We've got the specification that you can download, obviously freely download that, but just look to the right. We've got a picture of Colin at the bottom as well. Hello, Colin. We've got our course materials. Can I draw your attention to that one? Can you see where it says exam materials 110? And what you will have there are past papers where you will have examiners' reports, a whole wealth of resource for teachers to download and to use and to support in their planning in teaching this. There's teaching and learning materials, and I'm going to highlight a few of those now. So a whole range of things. Can I draw your attention to the third document along there also? The Getting Started Guide. Really an essential document, I think, to use if you are new to the qualification and you haven't seen that, if you're thinking about it. It's a comprehensive guide, again, a free resource that details in more detail. If you like, it's a more thorough version of today, all in one document. So how the course is, how it was designed, what it is designed to assess. Um, it's got all those some really useful resources to use for teachers. So I would really heartily recommend the Getting Started guide. Specifications there. There's a screenshot of those past papers and what's available for you there. Past training content. There's a whole host of past training that you can have access to. Much of that has been around assessment materials, around what marking activities and things like that. So a whole range of stuff. Also, and on the slides you'll receive, you'll get this. Here's a really great resource as well. It's the scheme of work, full scheme of work for the full course. And there's a little extract here. The shot behind is the front page of the thing. International GCSE scheme of work. And then in the foreground here is just an extract from it. So this is lesson 8 to 11. And can you see the level of detail that is gone into here to help you planning your lesson? So if you're thinking, where on earth would I start with this qualification? Well, here's a great starting point with the specification, the Getting Started guide. There's a scheme of work. It's modifiable, so it's a Word document. If you want to change the order of things, if you want to change the content, you want to add things in, you want to take things out. It includes links to videos and other resources. So it's a whole wealth of resource at your fingertips. We've got a Results Plus service. Really comprehensive mock analysis service. And those of you that have been with Pearson before, I wonder if we could check in the chat. Those of you with Pearson already, could you just sort of indicate in the chat whether you've used Results Plus at all, just yes or no, or is this something that is new to you? So this is where you can go and look at how your students performed last year. What is the what questions did they perform well on? Whole statistical breakdown. What questions did your school do well in? What didn't they do in? So Famida, can I just check? Do you currently teach Pearson qualifications? Great. So if you do, I would really recommend that you have an explore of the Results Plus portal and the package and what that will allow you to do to find out information about how your students have performed. So actual scores for exam questions, understand your students' performance compares with classes and national averages, acquire data that will, I think, impress your head teacher. Let's put it that way. And here it is. So just a snapshot of student takes the exam paper, they're signed, they're marked, performance reports are shared. A really, really great resource, a free resource as well. Once again, lots of this stuff is absolutely free. We have an exam wizard facility, um, an exam wizard whereby you can create exam papers, save time by creating your own mock exam papers, topic tests, homework, revision activities. It uses the entire um, previous series, the back catalogue of exam questions that you can access free of charge, create your papers, um, and once again, another great resource. You can have access to scripts. I think you know and I know that one of the best resources I think we can have are those previous scripts. I've used some examples of student work today that hopefully you will be using in your own centre with your own students. And it's just a great resource, isn't it? It is it's a great resource to have in terms of exemplifying great answers where students have made mistakes, starter activities, homework activities where students have got to mark a script and identify why it received this mark. Um, it says on there a rich source of information, and I would absolutely echo that. Um, and that point at the bottom, Pearson is the only awarding organisation to provide access to your students' marked exam papers included as part of your qualification fee. You don't have to pay for them. You can have your students' marked scripts back and have a look at them, and you can use those in your planning for future years. It's a great resource. We have, and Colin is in this meeting now, and I know some of you will know Colin, and are very, very knowledgeable about all aspects of all the business suite of qualifications. And Colin is a key point of contact, always on the end of an email or a phone call. If you need anything, if you feel you need a resource, if you need linking up with anyone, then Colin is your man, our subject partner. And we're really, it's a great thing to have Colin on board. So um, thanks again, Colin. Okay. Now, I'm slight. We've run slightly ahead of time. I hope that's not a problem. But there are times now for any questions at all that you have. If you want to go back through anything, we can. We still have some time if there's anything you want to go through. Oops. So we've got the chat is open. If there's any questions that you want there. I don't know if anyone would. I don't know if anyone wants to talk. You've heard a lot of me. I'm well done on listening to me all morning. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for that. Does anyone want the microphone? Does anyone want the microphone to ask their question if there's anything they need to know? Oh, thank you, Famida. That's very kind of you to say so. As I said earlier, do keep an eye out for that session that is about to be publicised around assessment. It was a practical marking one, which will build on what we've done today. You will, of course, get the recording from today's session with everything in. I think you've had the resource. I don't know if Finer is online now in terms of. Okay. Well, look, if there is nothing else, I don't want to keep you any further from a rainy South Africa or wherever you may be. Thank you once again for attending today. It's really important that you know, members of the community come to meetings like this. It's great to meet you all, albeit via a Zoom meeting. I hope to meet some of you in the future at future events. In the meantime, if there's anything at all that you need, all of those details are on there. Do get in touch and make sure you get all of your questions answered that you have. So thank you.